In today's episode, we're pushing into the inner parts of the island to build a brand new satellite city. This isn't just an expansion for the sake of it, it's in response to a growing crisis. Our healthcare system is failing. Clinics are running low on supplies and ambulances are stuck in maintenance bays. And before we can unlock a major pharmaceutical manufacturing plant, we need to establish a medical university. We'll start by extending our rail network with a new line tracing the banks of the island's rivers, linking up small settlements along the way. And at the end of the line, a modern green city campus will rise, surrounded by everything it needs to function on its own: housing, services, and space to grow. The payoff will be felt all across Sunny Isle, with faster recovery times, more efficient healthcare, and a stronger foundation for the city's future. Welcome to Sunny Isle. We're down by the beach and I've managed to get people down here wandering about and actually using the space. And as I mentioned in the last episode, I was using these hang around areas which are, I believe, in the landscaping menu. Spaces and areas, and then through here I believe I was using the park area, and you can see here I extended this along the length of the beach. We've also got one of these on the pedestrian promenade, but to get people to use these I had to play around with some of the invisible paths a little bit more. So initially I was told I could just insert a little nubbin at the end of each of these, but in the end I created a full network so that you could get from one side of the beach to the other with a few entrances and exits in between. But what's really interesting is people aren't using the dedicated path, they are actually using the hangout areas. And yes, it's not perfect, we do have a few floating people walking about, but for the most part, especially down in this section, we've got people walking freely through the area, making it just feel so much more natural. So with that in place, we're starting to see a little bit more life around here, especially nice when you see people walking their dog and coming up to this little pier section here. However, today we really need to address the elephant in the room, and it's our health crisis. So throughout the whole city, most of the clinics and hospitals are experiencing what I assume is some sort of supply shortage. And within each of these clinics, we can see that the stored resources is at zero, and even negative in some cases. And if we look down here, we don't see any sort of delivery truck. Typically, these goods are either imported or they're manufactured. In fact, we have a major surplus, 319 tons a month. And what's curious, if we head up to Infiloom and head down to trade cost, and we have a look at pharmaceuticals, the profit margin on exporting goods is crazy high, 5,405%. What is more interesting is our import amount is zero, but our export amount is 320, 321. It sounds like most companies that are creating pharmaceuticals in the city are preferring to send it and not leaving any behind for our local services. And when it comes to buying pharmaceuticals, it is actually incredibly cheap, 0.01 cent. That begs the question, why are we not importing more pharmaceuticals? And perhaps that is directly connected to the fact that we are manufacturing a surplus. And if we have a look at this clinic here, when they're experiencing low supplies, they will also experience a debuff, a negative 25%, when they have a lack of resources. To counteract the issue, I've gone ahead and bumped up the service budget for healthcare and death care up to 150%. And if we have a look at the efficiency again, the service budget provides a 25% boost. And as the city had experienced a long period of low efficiency, that means there were less ambulances available, there were less employees available. And so now we've got a major backlog of people with health issues, ambulances struggling to meet demand. And eventually we're going to start seeing a lot of these waiting for hearse icons popping up as people start to expire. To help improve the situation, I thought about building the pharmaceutical manufacturing building. However, to unlock this, we do need to build the medical university. We first need to unlock it in our education and research development tree. So we'll go ahead and do that. And if we head down to our education tab, go up to universities, we can see the size of this asset is humongous. So we'll need to find an appropriate place to put this before we can build the pharmaceutical manufacturing building. I want to develop a new university town somewhere between the main city and Clipstrand. And I've spotted this little clearing here alongside the river and this road that connects up the two areas as a potential spot to develop a new university village. And to tie the whole thing together with the rest of the city, we'll start developing a new rural rail connection that runs alongside this river here, going through this valley up to River Hill and then down into the main train station. But to do that, we'll first need to unlock some new expansion tiles. So I think if we want to build in this area here, let's go for that tile. We'll also need to connect it up to the road, so we'll need that one there. And if we want to connect it up to this train line, we're going to need that one. And most likely this one as well, if we want to follow the edge of the river. Go to here, and I think there, and then we own that tile up there. So that will cost us $3 million with a monthly upkeep of 221,000. And I think the main reason is natural resources. So yeah, ore deposits, there's a little bit up here that we're kind of connecting to. I don't think there's much oil. There is a little bit on this side, and maybe we look at creating a new oil field area in the future over there. And it's most likely land fertility. So there's a lot of places that farmland can take up here, which isn't too bad. If we go into our budget, we've got a monthly balance of around about 900,000. So let's close that info view. Let's make sure we've got those tiles selected, and let's purchase those. Lovely stuff. I think right in the middle here will be perfect. And if we go to our transportation tab and find an appropriate train station, I really like the look of this local train station that came with the modern architecture content creator pack. But I think it's a little bit big for this parcel here. I think we just need to back off this university a little bit. So we'll move that back to about here. Let's grab that train station. We'll have that around here, I think. And let's put a road through the middle. And let's have a close look at this and see if we need to optimize it. It's not the most glamorous looking asset, especially with this massive amount of concrete on this side. So we do have the modern train station entrance that we could potentially add, and that would add extra parking lot. We could add a platform roof, which I think might be best to do anyway, given the temperatures on Sunny Isle. And we have extra platforms as well, which I don't think are necessary now, but if this becomes a central hub in the future, it's good that we've preserved the space using this asset. Okay, coming back to the university itself, and I'm quite hesitant to use this, to be honest, especially since it's quite an iconic building and you can always spot in somebody's city when they've used it. So I'm wondering whether we could customize it a little bit so that we can make it fit our city a little bit better and it doesn't stick out like a sore thumb. So I think what we can do is we can play around with the colors of the building and find something that's a little bit more natural to the environment. And I'm thinking we could have some sort of wood exterior to this instead of that stark white. There we go. What do we think of that? That's quite interesting, isn't it? And when you look a little bit closer, the texture on here kind of has that wood grain effect. Okay, with the university in a good place, let's put the rail down. So we want to be connecting up to this rail bridge here so that we could have trains going all the way down to Clipstrand, and then we'll have it following this river here. So I'm just going to use the two-way train track unelectrified for this, since I don't suspect we'll have that much traffic on this track. And we can also upgrade it with some passing rail sections along the way. So let's turn on the continuous curve tool and then we can start to extend this out. And I'm going to go through this bridge and then we'll upgrade it so that it goes over the rail. So let's bring it to about there. That's a nice straight shot, to be honest. And I wonder if this will play nicely by coming into here. And that will help trains come through here, since we do have the train depot in the port area. There we go. Curvy worthy. And that works. It looks okay. And yeah, let's go ahead and fix this bridge section. And that should be enough space. Yeah, plenty of space there. Lovely stuff. And that bridge simply just goes over the river and connects up to the rest of the map that we've yet to work on. Okay, let's have a look at this side along the river. I think it'll be a little bit tricky, and I was trying to save some money by not buying this tile, so we will need to skirt quite close to the edge here and then bring it around. But first, let's put down a train station in Riverhill. It's been much needed and much requested, and I think somewhere at the top end near this bridge here might be quite good, and then we could raise this road up and go over the rail, again avoiding any sort of train road interface. And we will lose a couple of buildings, but if we can pop that in nicely, although that angle there on the river is a little bit sharp, so we are more than likely going to need to rotate this just a little bit. And that gives us a nice straight shot along the river heading towards the city, and then back this way is pretty good as well. So let's work our way back up to the university campus. Okay, so I did have to raise up this roundabout a little bit, but I think those slopes aren't too bad. This isn't a major road through here. I'll tell you, it was difficult trying to get this to work. There's this really strange section of the map here, which I don't think anybody had any intention to build on. It's the source of two rivers, which I imagine is quite unnatural. It's the way that the map is designed, and we'll try to be faithful. A lot of the gradient along this track is quite steep, actually, around about 2 to 3%, but it's a game, so we have some allowances to be a little bit more creative. And then it cuts across this corner here, and then it heads towards our little train station over here. And yeah, it's a mess. So I'm going to go through and clean this up and make it look a little bit prettier. Alright, is it perfect? No. But is it good enough? Yes. And look at this fancy bridge that we've got here, which is called the Cranford Bridge apparently. So I'm using the 2-lane wooden covered bridge. So I just stretched this out, used a little bit of move it magic just to get it in the right spot. I've tested it out and it's just high enough for the trains, and it's a little bit rickety. So yeah, we've got it coming around here, we've got that bridge section, and the river is flowing again a little bit better than what it was. And then it comes all the way along here. Again, a lot of this river was already like this, so I wouldn't worry too much about it. We added this retaining wall, and then that comes into our university train station here, and I think that looks pretty good. Now we need to wind it all the way down to our main train station, which is in the center of the city here. Alright, the rail is in, and it's not the prettiest. Again, this isn't my finest work, and we can refine this over time as we start to grow the city a little bit more. But yes, we're starting at River Hill Station again. We're following the river. We're taking some shortcuts. We're not following the curvature of the river completely. We're trying to keep this rail line nice and smooth. Following the edges of the Newbridge district. It comes up to our high-speed rail line. We had this old abandoned track that came through here. I added a little tunnel so it can go underneath the track. Not the prettiest, I know. And then it curves around and then it feeds back into the main rail network. So let's try find the passenger railway line tool. And I'm going to color this a nice bright blue color for now. I think that'll be good. And let's start down by the main train station here. Now we don't have that many available platforms, so we're just going to pick the one closest to the road just for convenience. And then we'll bring this all the way to Newbridge. Now this station isn't going to be accessible for a period of time while we fix up the roads. And then this goes all the way to the new university area. Again, no road access here. And then this can finally make a stop down in Clipstrand, and we do have a available platform there, so we just need to send that all the way back. Okay, and before we complete the line, let's just pause it there. That's connected up now, so let's open up that line. Let's find it. Trade line 3, so let's view the details. Let's rename this. And for this, we're going to use the small 2-car diesel unit. Or should we go for the 3-car? Let's go for the 3-car one. Color's a little bit bright, so let's change that shortly. I think we might have all the same colors through the city, but we'll just watch this for now so that we know this is different to the others. Looks like it's taken the long route to turn around. Okay, so we're at the main train station. Let's speed this up and see what it's like on its little journey. So it comes underneath this tunnel here, then it will go along the river. Make a stop at River Hill Village, head over the wooden bridge, and then it start to head towards the university area. Okay, makes a stop at Clipstrand just by the pier, and by the looks of it, it appears that all the bridges, the curves, the corners seem to be in a good spot. While we're here, we may as well recolor the train as well. I like to use this pinky color for all the trains in the city, so let's just grab this palette and we just simply need to copy the whole color set. And instead of changing the line color, we can go into the route info view. And if we go to this little icon here, so route vehicles, and then we paste that color set, that will change the color of all the trains on the route. However, it has lost the route color, so I'm going to change that back to blue. That will be the same color as the other route that we got on the map, except for this one, we have 3 cars on the line, and the other one has 4 cars. I noticed that we had quite a few people walking on the tracks, and if you ever find that you've got people walking on your train tracks, that's not meant to happen. That's usually because a train has despawned somewhere. So it's not particularly a bug with the game, it's a way of handling traffic jams when it comes to trains. So I've just noticed, because I've set up this new line to stop on the side of the track closest to the road near this little plaza here, it has to wait until it's available. But we have this train here which is heading out of town, and it needs to go up that raised section of track, but unfortunately it's being blocked by this train. So if we let this run for a second, one of these trains will have to despawn, otherwise it's a Mexican standoff. There you go. And we got all these people on the tracks. So now you know why there's people on the tracks. It's not usually because of a bug, it's usually because of poorly designed train network or rail lines. So to fix that particular issue, I think we could simply just swap over the side of the track. So let's just turn off this toggle traffic info view. Let's go into our transportation overview and turn off the visibility of all our lines except for the one we want to edit. And then I'm going to go back into the transportation view, and I'm going to grab the route tool, passenger rail line tool, and unfortunately it's still showing all the other trains, but we just switched that to that side. So we'll just fast forward it and see if that one will move. Yep, so that one moves out, goes down to the harbour, and then this one is now moved in. Perfect. And then that one should then reverse out and head back to Clipstrand. There we go. And I think these two are just waiting to shuffle themselves. So that one's moved out the way. What about these two? Are we going to see a Mexican standoff between these two? There we go. They've managed to shuffle themselves around, and we have a pretty robust train network now. I love it. We've got the high-speed train just coming in, and this area is just full of life now. Lots and lots of people. In fact, I've been thinking of upgrading this train station for a while with extra waiting rooms. So this provides a couple of extra waiting rooms. This will add an extra 30 comfort to the building, so why not? And it also adds a longer platform cover. If I just hide that view, there we go. Yeah, I think that looks quite nice. Okay, before we continue with the university campus, let's just jump into the River Hill village and connect this train station up. And I think we just zoom in a little bit, pull that out 90 degrees, and then I'm just going to go straight along here. That will connect up to that. And we have this little cul-de-sac bulb, which, to be honest, I'm quite happy with. I don't know if that unlocks any zoning. Oh, it does. We could add a few buildings around there. And this section here, we could keep it open space. I think that's quite a nice idea, actually. Using Move It, I'm stretching out the node so that we can make these scissors a little bit more gentle. Let's start to beautify this space by adding some trees and foliage. Holding Control, we can select multiple bushes and use the line tool. And as a centerpiece in the park, let's put in a nice cozy gazebo with a little bit of surface work to make it look like it's been well used. To finish the area, I'd like to add some trees into these people's gardens. It seemed to be lacking. I wish buildings came with larger trees, it would add a lot more realism. Okay, so we're back at the university area. We need to add some dorms, add some places to hang out, some places to grab something to eat. We also need to connect it up to our main road network. This road goes all the way up to the main city. This one goes all the way down to Clipstrand and the port. I think we could simply just add another entrance further along. I will use a smaller roundabout. I think something like that would do. However, I don't want to create a cul-de-sac, so we could create another entrance down here somewhere like that. And using the road service tools, let's turn off the right turn. So if anybody wants to make a right turn, they can turn left, go around the roundabout, and then go up the road. And then similar here, we don't want anyone crossing traffic. We'll turn off the right turn. Anybody that wants to enter into the university area can go straight on and up to that roundabout at the top here, and we can go ahead and add that road in here. Since very few visitors tend to come to these places, we'll never get to see this car park filled up, and to me it just feels like a waste of space. And it's super easy to fix. All you have to do is delete the existing car parking spaces using Better Bulldozer, using a few of these tools. I think we got the sub elements, and then we can go into remove markers, and that just allows us to delete these parking spaces. And simply go to our landscaping menu and grab the invisible road with a path, and we'll start that up at the top here. We'll bring that all the way down, bring that up to the edge of the car park in there. And then we can just snap that in, one there, and then we put another one on the other side. Okay, let's go ahead and start putting some roads down and making this place feel a little bit lively and livable. The only thing that's troubling the university now is a little bit of crime. Look at that. That looks like it was built with the university, not at a different time, you know? And I think we'll be able to harmonize the colors a little bit better. And throughout this whole area, we can see we've got all these walking paths. And to me, that just harmonizes with the existing walking infrastructure that we've got throughout this area already. We can connect these up using the invisible paths, and we should be able to see people move in from between the dorms and the university without having to walk all the way around or any hindrance. I think that looks great. That looks absolutely lovely, and I'm still not sure about the colors of this building. Do you know what? I'm very, very tempted to just bring it back to that white color. Something super, super light like that. And then maybe we could use this middle section here and match it up with that green roof section up at the top. There we go. Half the money developing this university has clearly gone to changing the marble exterior or the repaint. But to me, I think that fits in a lot better, especially when we put them beside these dormitory buildings here. I think that looks great. Not too happy with the road layout, so I'm just going to quickly adjust it so that we can fit in an extra pedestrian path between the university and the dorms. This will give us plenty of space to connect up those invisible paths, and we can also start to adjust the road connection nearest the roundabout and make this a little bit more fluid, a little bit more easy to come in and out of instead of that harsh right angle. Using Move It, we can just shimmy these over nicely. You get a concrete texture between the buildings and the road, but coming through with the surface tool, we can adjust that and bring back those green lawns through the area. And I'm imagining this place to be very car friendly as well, where we have all this space at the front of the campus. I can imagine us having plenty of car parking spaces. And while this is primarily student accommodation, of course that's not something that we can control in the game. We will get a whole plethora of different types of people living here, including families. So I'm going to go ahead and add other services here, such as an elementary school, and of course we'll make sure that we've got decent fire, police coverage. I'm even considering a recycling centre to make this area fully sustainable. However, I'm not too sure about that one. Of course, if we're going to be using car parking assets, let's make them eco-friendly with these solar panel roofs. The only issue that I have with these assets is their lack of space, so we do need to include an overflow car park, and in the end I'm going to pop down this multi-story car park that came with the base game. I rarely ever get to use this, so I'm kind of excited to see it in use. Okay, so I've got the services in place, I've got the parking. Let's go ahead and draw a district around this area. It's called Bedford Junction, which I actually don't dislike, since we do have this major roundabout here, which is a junction in the road network. So perhaps we can just simply call this the Bedford Junction University Hospital. And it's currently home to 2,000 people. Wow, that's quite a lot. And that's simply just because we've got so much density through here. I mean, a little bit of me is maybe thinking we've got too much. I feel like maybe the recycling center is a little bit out of place here, especially now that I'm wondering whether we should make space for some sort of sports complex. And the only area I think we could do that is down here where we've got slightly less hilly land. And I think this isolated area just on the edge of the map tile is pretty good for that. And the pollution is heading towards the sea. Okay, we're going to need to purchase this tile if we do want to build any sort of sports facility. Featuring 2 large indoor halls and multiple outdoor fields for a variety of physical activities and competitions. We're going to place this around here, but it looks like we do need to move out the land a little bit more. I'm also going to go ahead and upgrade this road and extend it out. And then we can place our sports park complex in, and it looks really nice here. Yeah, so we do have quite a lot of detailing to do through here. The sports park itself is pretty nicely done, so we don't need to fix this up or anything. It's got a nice red color, but we can also adjust that, I'm sure, with a little bit of the recolor mod. More similar to the university color, we've got this little greeny color, so let's just copy that and bring that down here. And then maybe we just boost up the color a little bit so that we can see it. Yeah, I like that. I think that really fits the area nicely. And we've got more than just a couple of sports halls. There's also a skate park, and it looks like there's more than likely going to be a cafe facility or something in there. That looks really good. I think that fits the area really, really nicely. Between the university and the train station, I'd like to turn it into a pedestrian area. You can see we've got quite a lot of pedestrian activity, so I think this will be a good spot to bring in some commercial, some places to eat, some places to hang out. For this commercial area, I'm just finishing it off with a little bit of surface work, some foliage and trees, making sure that we're making the best use of the land through here. And it's starting to look really lively, really lovely. Over by our little sports complex, I did decide to add on a medical clinic as well as one of these service blocks that can help collect death care. To use all the services that these blocks can offer, you do need to unlock quite a few different options within your development tree. So we've gone ahead and unlocked a whole bunch of different development nodes. We had lots of points to spend. I'm looking forward to using some of the assets in the future, such as a new airport perhaps. At the back here, I felt like it was lacking some sort of maintenance area for deliveries of bodies. So we added one of these little static ploppables in, and then we're just going to connect it up to the internal road network with this asset. I did find this a little bit tricky though. I found that the hearses weren't entering or exiting, so I went ahead and deleted the internal roads and replaced them with my own. And gosh, that was quite difficult because a lot of these icons just started popping up everywhere saying that the asset was disconnected. In the end, I needed to use a two-way road to make sure that there were no dead ends. And for good measure, I replaced the crematorium service block just so that we had a clean slate to start with. And I did start to see hearses being dispatched. For the football field, I wanted to make one of these areas a little bit more manicured, but I did quickly realize that I'd added the surface to the field that had no seating. So using Move It, I was able to bring the surface over to the other side here. Okay, over by the station, we can start to work on this large slab of concrete, and I don't think I'll be upgrading it with the modern entrance anytime soon. So I'm formalizing this path here. It appeared that people were walking through the area, so we may as well give them something to walk on. And then we replaced the surface at the front of the station with something a little bit nicer. And we introduced a few of these mixed-use asset buildings here, ensuring that at street level these areas feel friendly, warm and welcoming. Over by our dormitories, let's introduce plenty of foliage here, making those streets feel a little bit more friendly as you walk down them. We're down by the entrance to the development, and we're going to make this look a little bit prettier. Add in some flower bushes, trees, ornaments, things that will look a little bit more attractive than car parks as far as the eye can see. On the corner of this roundabout here, we're going to add a little fast food outlet. I think this is the perfect spot for something like this. Having a look at this elementary asset, we're way underutilizing it. It has capacity for over 3,000 students. So having a look at our other options, I found this Mediterranean heritage asset works just well, and it fits really nicely next to the train station here. Adding a little bit of car parking and protection from the railway as well to make it fit nicely in that corner. And where we've opened up this space now, we can start to build an office park. While we've been building, I noticed that we had a massive traffic jam coming through here, and it's more than likely just the fact that people are moving in. But for good measure, I've gone ahead and upgraded this roundabout with asymmetric roads entering into the roundabout, and using Move It we can also make these corners a little bit smoother. And overall we didn't really need to change much, but it made a big impact on the flow of traffic. And since we've opened up so much new land in the area, buying all these tiles, let's make sure that we're using it appropriately, using farms and forestry and small residential homes to fill in any gaps. Okay, so here we've got the city in place, the green city, which I've coined just simply because we've got so many trees coming through here, and it is a pedestrian focused city which is served by transit, and the trains come in. Unfortunately, with this train station you can't really see all the people coming in as they're covered up with these canopies, but it looks like the line is pretty popular. We've got people coming in and out of this pedestrian area, which I think looks absolutely stunning. This whole area is buzzing with activity. I think it looks incredible, and you'd expect to see something like this, especially near such a large institute where you've got a lot of people coming and going, whether they study here, work here, or work in a business nearby. And yes, as promised, I worked on this little commercial area, and I went for these mixed use assets so that we do have people living here as well. And not to forget to detail the back sections. There's a lot of footpaths through here which I think are worth connecting up. You can do a lot with the surfaces if you just take your time and connect them or repaint them with a different surface. This car park that we edited is full of cars, which is great to see. As I said, typically car parks associated with assets don't have any life in them, as people don't tend to stick around for long. They're in and out super quick, but these people are using it whether they're visiting a local business or living nearby, and it just makes the area feel a little bit more realistic in my opinion. So if we continue down this little shopping area here, this is a one-way street, so we don't have that much traffic, and I've made good use of trees, these grass verges, so it's providing plenty of shade and it's a very comfortable place to visit. And most of these buildings here are pedestrian focused. There's a couple with a little bit of vehicle access at the back, such as this little office here, but it's small and it doesn't distract from the area and the focus of walkability in the area at least. And all the cars are shoved in the back here where nobody can really see them. And over here we did end up needing a medical service, so the university does have a medical upgrade, which is a separate building, but it's humongous, it's massive, and it doesn't include any ambulances either. So with this USA medical clinic we do get a few vehicles. We've got 4 in use at the moment, or 3 in use and 1 in maintenance. And then I added Star Q's service block for a little bit of death care, so we've got a few hearses servicing the area since we didn't have space for a crematorium or a large cemetery. And yes, we've got the football field with the AstroTurf section or the manicured grass section, and one for practice for a little bit more casual play. And then over here, yes, this is such a lovely, cute little village area, and I'd like to imagine maybe this area existed before the university was built, or perhaps these are where some of the construction workers originally lived. I don't know, it feels like it's got a little bit of history and they've been able to retain some of that space, whereas this was more than likely just farm fields in the past. And so much parking through here, it's so busy, but I'm happy to see most of it is hidden. I added the upgrade on so you can get your car washed. This just increases the comfort level, making the asset a little bit more desirable. And as I said before, I really wasn't sure I was ever going to be able to place this in Sunny Isle, since space seems to be at a premium, but I think this fits in really nicely, especially with these gardens at the front. We've got a few people just hanging out at the car park, as you do. And then we've got the entrance area, which I think is quite interesting. It's definitely auto-oriented, so you'll only really see this area as you drive in. And so we've got the firehouse. This is, to me, a very rural looking asset, and I think it just fits this area really nicely. Let's not forget that these are students after all, and even though they may be studying health or medicine, who doesn't enjoy some fast food? So we've got a little fast food drive-through area just by the roundabout here. They've got great exposure to anybody driving through so that people can pull in, grab something to eat. And lastly, I had the large elementary school here, but after checking the stats, it really was underutilized. So I did end up replacing it with, oh my God, have you seen how many kids are in school here? Okay, I ended up replacing it with this Mediterranean one, which I think looks really nice. It's a little bit different to the architecture in the area, but I don't mind. And we're still underutilizing this. It has a capacity of 1,000, and we can always upgrade it in the future with an extra 500 places if we need to. So it's future proofing when this area maybe gets more development in the future. And in its space, we constructed this beautiful, colorful, perhaps a little bit gaudy office park with all these bright, blocky buildings. But I think it fits into a university area quite well. I might even imagine these university-based industries through here. I tried to recolor some of these. They don't like to be recolored. I think they adopt the business color, so the color of the company that moves into them. But for the most part, it looks okay. We added these little pergolas along the stretch of the street so people have somewhere shady to walk. And again, it's very auto-oriented, but at the back here we have lots of footpaths. A lot of these assets come with rear entrances, and again, it really is worth the time just pulling out those surfaces and making them feel a little bit more connected to the environment that they sit. Add a few of your own props as well. I've got these little benches through here. I added a shed for some reason. I thought it might be useful for some ground maintenance. And a little street food vendor area here right in the middle, where we've got no parked cars, maybe a little bit of motorcycle parking, but a very peaceful area to grab something to eat. Overall, I'm super pleased with how the area has turned out. I spent a little bit of time adding a few farms and a little bit of forestry just to make use of the tile. We've got trains coming in, we've got people living and studying here. The university hosts 443 students, which is pretty good. And our city is also benefiting, with recovery failures reduced by 25% and hospital efficiency increased by 10%. And if we head over to Sunny Isle, where we had all the healthcare issues and death care problems, it's looking a little bit better. And I think in a future episode, I'd like to build a large hospital somewhere around here. We've got quite a scattered array of clinics all around here, and maybe it'll be a little bit more efficient to have one central location where ambulances can be dispatched. And we can also take a look at building the pharmaceutical factory. Over the course of the past 6 months since we've been building in this episode, we have seen an incremental increase in health. And if we just increase that time scale by a year, we can see we started building in the middle of this graph here. So we are seeing an improvement. and our overall health has increased only slightly from 60% to 62%. And before we do anything else, I'm very curious to see how many people we've got using our train line. So it's currently 11 o'clock in the morning, so we've just got past the rush hour, and there's currently 796 passengers using it, which is brilliant. We're seeing vehicles spread out all along the line. It's proven to be quite a popular route, and if we compare that to our other line, which has the same destination, Clipstrand, but it follows a different route around the island, it has seen a reduced number of passengers, now only serving 329. So it may be that in the future we need to increase the number of vehicles on that line, or at least increase the number of cars per vehicle. At the moment we have 3, but perhaps we should bump it up to 4 and reduce the other one down to 3. But I'm happy to see that we're expanding rail through the city, connecting up the different towns and creating not just Sunny Isle as a standalone city, but as a whole region. And I'm looking forward to eventually stretching out across the entire map and connecting up all the different towns that we've got, not just by road, but also by rail. So let's take a look at what we worked on today with some cinematics. We've laid down a brand new rural rail line connecting up to Riverhill and tied it back into the main city. Along that line, we've started work on a new satellite city, complete with a modern university. And it wasn't without its challenges, from traffic jams to trains blocking each other, but overall the network is running and people are moving in, and we're already starting to see the benefits. Health across Sunny Isle is improving, hospital efficiency is up, and recovery times are getting better. It's not perfect yet, but it feels like a solid step in the right direction. Thanks so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this one. I certainly had fun making it. Let me know what you think in the comments, and as always, take care and goodbye.